If you're here and you're joining us today, it's because you might be interested in a residential care officer role. My name is David Yusia. I'm one of the managers for disability services, and I'm in the Ipswich area, and that's within the Southwest Service area. I myself have been with the department for about 38 years, and so I first started in the department as a residential care officer many years ago when we still had an institutional model of care, and I started at a place called Chelmsford Centre, which was a large institution. So I know quite a bit about the role. I was a residential care officer for 11 years before becoming a manager, and also undertook different roles within the department. So look, thank you for coming here today, and thank you for your interest in the residential care officer role. Okay, we'd like to start by having an acknowledgement to country. Just in case you're unfamiliar with an acknowledgement to country, it's really important that all of us in our roles acknowledge the traditional owners of this country. It's important because we need to be there demonstrating respect to people of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander culture. And it's also important that, and the way that we demonstrate, or one of the ways that we demonstrate that respect is to acknowledge their role in this country. And so I'd like to start by acknowledging the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the traditional owners and custodians of the country, and recognise their connection to the land, wind, water, and community, and recognise that these have always been places of teaching and learning. We pay our respects to the Turrbal people, their culture, and to the elders past and present and emerging, and acknowledge the important role of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders in our community. Now, although I acknowledge the Turrbal people, where I am here in Ipswich, it's the Yagara and Yurragapilla people that are the traditional owners here in the Ipswich region. So I think it's important that I do pay and acknowledge them as well. Okay. So throughout this session, we will be looking at several areas and doing a general overview of what the department provides and the services they provide. We'll talk about the role of a residential care officer, and Nari Renton will be presenting that aspect of it. We will also talk about, if we've gotten your interest in the role, about the application processes, and Tanya Reynolds will cover the application process to become a residential care officer. Sue Elder will also look at the selection processes, and then Lynn Sate will cover the aspects of training. And at the end of the topics covered today, we will have a session where you can ask a whole range of questions if you have any, and you know, and ask more, or maybe a little bit more about the role, or if we've sparked your interest in applying for a job as a residential care officer, we'll hopefully be able to answer those questions, and that'll help determine whether you're the right person for this job. So thank you. Okay. So moving straight into it, the Disability Services sits within the Department of Seniors, Disability Services, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Partnership. The purpose is to promote respect for human rights and freedoms, enhance access to services and supports, and lead change to improve the lives of seniors, carers, and people with a disability, and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders in Queensland. So very important purpose that we have within this department. I'm going to talk to you a fair bit about some of the values that are important within this role. These are values that are shared throughout our department. And we have what we call an acronym known as SOLID and SOLID values. And SOLID stands for things like being strength-based. It stands for being open, loyal, innovative, and dedicated. Now, each of those areas are really important to the culture of our organization. To start with, being strength-based recognizes that we grow professionally and achieve more by working as a team, and together, each of our strengths come to build up the department, and that we work together to provide a good services to the people that we support. And what it does is it actually increases our capacity to follow through on our commitments and achieve outcomes. So working from a strength base is very important. Being open is very important. That's about being honest and respectful. And I talked a little bit about being respectful in terms of why it's important that we acknowledge the traditional owners. But being respectful within disability services also applies to being respectful to people with a disability, particularly within the residential care officer role. It's not enough just to not be disrespectful. We have to demonstrate our respect within this role to the people that we support, and demonstrating respect to people with disabilities is going to be a vitally important part of the residential care officer role. And that will mean doing things like listening to people with disabilities, ensuring that they're being heard, that their choices are being supported, and that as a residential care officer, you're really engaged in ensuring good quality of life and self-direction of people with a disability. So the residential care officer role is a very important one, and being open and honest as part of that role will be very important. The other part is about being loyal, and that's about being dependable. Dependable and professional as a team member. It's important, loyalty is important to us all. Loyalty within a working group is also important. Supporting each other and being loyal to the department and to the people that we support is a vital part of that role. The other part of the role, the I stands for innovation. Innovation means that we continue to improve the work that we do. When I first started as a residential care officer in an institutional setting, we weren't necessarily doing the best and providing the best services for the clients that we were supporting. And therefore we had to be innovative. We had to look beyond institutional walls and the boundaries that institutions had in place, and look to ensuring that our clients with a disability were accepted and supported within the broader community. So we moved from institutional support arrangements into community support arrangements, and I was very much a part, excuse me, of that major transition. And throughout disability services, we have strived to be as innovative as we possibly can be. Innovative in terms of how we provide service, innovative in terms of how we provide choice and control. Certainly the implementation of the NDIS has supported the choice and control model, which has allowed people with disabilities to have a far greater quality of life. If I think back over the 38 years when I first started as a residential care officer, it was even difficult just taking people with a disability into the community. There was still a lot of misconceptions about people with a disability. People in the community that we met often wondered if these individuals were dangerous, and we had to ensure that they weren't. They were people who they would like to know and like to be friends with, and that they had a role within particularly the Ipswich community where I worked just as they had a role within the community. And over the past 30 years, we've seen people with disabilities be accepted within the community, join various clubs and organisations, and certainly be a part of the Ipswich community. So that's been being innovative and in terms of our service delivery and how we deliver services has been certainly an important function of the residential care officer role. And the last one is about being dedicated. Achieving those types of outcomes requires people to be dedicated, dedicated to the role, dedicated to the goals. We've talked about that meaning being creative and achieving meaningful outcomes for the people that we're supporting. You don't achieve outcomes with individuals if you're not dedicated to providing them with good services and ensuring that those services are delivered in the way which is the least restrictive and most supportive to ensure that they have a good quality of life. So certainly the role of a residential care officer requires a high level of dedication. So I've just given you a very quick overview of our solid values, and you'll hear more about that as you go through the training, and you'll certainly hear more about that as being part of this department. Okay. I'm going to talk also a little bit about accommodation support and respite services and provide you with a bit of an overview of the service itself. Okay. The Department of Seniors, Disability Services and Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Partnerships has as its leader Craig Crawford. He's initially from Western Victoria. He was actually in the Queensland Ambulance Service for 15 years, and he is our MP. But you'll probably hear a lot more about Dr. Chris Saris. Chris, as I said, is the youngest of 10 people. He's an Aboriginal person. He was the principal of Sherbrooke School, and certainly the stronger values that he brings comes from his work in the Stronger, Smarter Institute, which he was the founder of. Chris is a psychologist and has a psychology degree from Murdoch University, and he's our Director General. I haven't had the opportunity to meet him personally, but through his various weekly team meetings, a great number of staff have been able to get to know Chris. He's a very big supporter of rugby league and is a nice guy. He tells a lot of dad jokes, and he's been a really fresh and inspirational person to the department. So look, I'll talk a bit more about our department. Some of the things that I'd like to talk to you about is a bit about the structure of our department. Our department is formed up into 3 separate area offices or regions or service areas. There's the Northern Service Area, and that takes that is the largest area, and that spans from the Brisbane River through to Townsville. And it also provides services through 6 service centres, being Townsville, Maryborough, Rockhampton, Redcliffe, Maroochydore and Nunda. Next largest is the Southeast Service Area, and that spans mostly within the Brisbane and Gold Coast region. And that takes into account several service centres at Oxley, Loganlea, and Robina, and south within the southern suburbs of Brisbane. And then there's the service area that I'm with, and that's the Southwest Service Area. And we have 3 area offices in Ipswich, and they're very innovatively named A, B, and C. And then we also have an office within the Toowoomba region. Certainly the services that we're providing are, the majority of those services are to people with an intellectual disability who live within a group home. And as a residential care officer, that role is about supporting individuals within those various group homes in the various through the various offices. In my office, I have 14 group homes, and those are supported by residential care officers who do a 24-hour rotating shift through each of the service points or client homes, and they are supported by a team leader who manages approximately 4 to 5 houses. And they're also supporting the team leader is the direct support officer, who plays a role in looking at the various aspects of disability support and ensuring that that your practice is in keeping with our department philosophies, and certainly provides a lot of on the job the role of a DSTL or Disability Support Officer is around ensuring that there's on-the-job training and on-the-job support. If you have any questions in relationship to your role, they're often the first person that you would go to. Within the structure also is a number of respite services, and those respite services provide, again, 24-hour centre-based respite, and those respite services also have residential care officers working in them, and clients, people with a disability who live at home, get supported on a regular rotating basis of approximately 3 days per month, and they get provided with respite, which allows their family to have a break and maybe do something different that weekend. It's really the purpose of a respite service is about strengthening the capacity of a family to care for their loved one with a disability. So the role that our respite services play are also very important in the overall services provided through disability services. And residential care officers who work within respite services often get to know a number of families and get to know quite a number of people with a disability who live in their community, and often living or primarily living at home with parents. So a large number of the people who are accessing respite services are actually children with a disability, but not necessarily. It's probably about around about a 50-50 split, because it's important to strengthen the capacity of a family to care for a person with a disability, regardless of whether they're an adult or a child. Okay. So that's a little bit about an overview of AS&RS. We're certainly work under a legislative framework, and the primary piece of legislation that governs the services that we provide is the Disability Services Act. And within that Disability Services Act are various components of requirements of our service. It covers areas such as things like restrictive practices in terms of how restrictive or non-restrictive we can be. Although we have a philosophy of the least restrictive alternative, from time to time it does require us in supporting people with a disability to put in place some restrictions. And in doing that, whether that's a restriction such as locking a gate or a door in order to ensure that a person is safe, we have to do that within a legislative framework in terms of ensuring that appropriate safeguards are in place and appropriate authorization is also in place to ensure that we're not being overly restrictive. The philosophy of the least restrictive alternative means that we should only be as restrictive as we need to be to keep somebody safe. And that's a philosophy that you'll learn an awful lot about should you choose to become a residential care officer. It's an important aspect of the role of a residential care officer to ensure that the services that we provide as an organization is as least restrictive as possible. Okay, I think I've covered everything I need to cover. I don't know whether I will be around at the end of the presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions. And at this stage, I will hand over to Lindsay. Oh, sorry. I'll hand over to the next presenter.
Hey there, I'm Nairi. So I'm presenting the next section about casual residential care officer and what it means to be a casual residential care officer. So what is a day in the life of a casual residential care officer? And this depends heavily on the individual client's support needs. We have intellectual disabled clients, so their support needs will vary differently across the day. So some clients that we support are verbal and some are non-verbal, and throughout your training you'll learn how to better communicate with those individuals. But what does a day in the life of a residential care officer look like for a client and a staff member? So clients that we support to the best of their ability. We have a philosophy of doing with, not doing for the client. So we try to look at removing what we think of as a hotel model where we look after every need of the client. It is exceptionally important that we try and get the clients to do as much as possible for themselves as they can do. This helps them strengthen muscles, it helps them be able to keep their fine motor skills and be an active member of their lives. So some of the jobs and roles that you'll get to do with a client throughout the day is personal care, which incorporates toileting, showering, dental hygiene, dressing, administering medication. We will undergo training throughout our induction to learn about the medication administration, because as you can imagine it's quite a lot to look at and entail in that. Meal preparation, so we prepare and cook meals with the clients. We allow them to do as much as possible throughout the meal preparation, and sometimes that can be just the client being actively engaged in being in the kitchen with you and the conversation going, and other times it can be us leading the client to do just with verbal prompts. So domestic duties, as with any household, the clients have a house that needs to be looked after. It needs to be cleaned and kept hygiene throughout the whole house. So with that, it's once again, you get the client to do as much as possible within that role, which includes laundry, general house cleaning of the kitchen, the dishes, and every element our client is involved within. So moving on to general community activities. So we do banking, we do the shopping with the clients, we attend medical appointments. We also can, within our role on weekends, if they don't have community access, we can take them out as a group and have picnics and enjoy that component of their life as well. We also help exercise the client, so we will keep them active within their day so that their muscles are moving and they're getting oxygen, sun. It's an exceptionally important component of our lives. Community linking is usually done through a community access service. However, we as a accommodation provider also do small elements of that in linking with the community. So maintaining relationships is exceptionally important for all of us. So clients will have families that we help them link with. They have family friends. They may have just friends within the community, and even some of our clients have partners that we help them link with. And it's a very important component of human relationships that we continue to do those. We also help with behaviour support. Now, we must assume that every client has capacity unless we have evidence to show otherwise. So every element of communication that we see, it may come and be presented in different ways. Some clients who are non-verbal will use behaviour as communication, and some clients have what we call a positive behaviour support plan in place. And that it helps the staff and the clients to have a better day. So where clients have learned a behaviour to be able to communicate their needs, we have a positive behaviour support plan to help them get their needs met and the communication come across to others. Administrative tasks, because with every role we have paperwork and recording. These individuals, some of them can't record their own lives, so it's our responsibility as a residential care officer to make sure that we capture everything about the client's day. So we have financial management recording, so every element of what we spend is recorded within the paperwork that we have. It's accountability under the Financial Administrators Act. So we have record keeping, including records of progress for the day, daily notes, report book entries of any appointments or information if you've attended a doctor's appointment, making sure the doctor writes notes. If the doctor doesn't write notes, making sure that we have some sort of written report from the doctor so that everybody knows what's happening within that individual's life. We have medication entries to make sure that everybody is aware of what medication an individual has had or whether or not it's been given or still to be given. So it's all accountability to make sure that we don't make errors which could be detrimental to people's health. So we also have behaviour recording sheets. So whenever there is a behaviour positive plan in place, we need to make sure we have accurate recording on what's happening for that individual that day, the reasons for the communication that happened, and try and find a way forward for them that's positive for the individual and obviously for the staff member. So we also do the completion of the certificate training. So during your induction, you'll undergo some training within that, and the recordings are used for the purpose of accreditation. So that's part of the induction that comes through there. So what skills are required for the role of RCO? Well, David explained our solid values. They're an exceptionally important part of supporting clients with a disability and making sure that their life is a quality life. And understanding that a quality life for somebody, what we see as a social norm, can be different for clients with a disability, and they'll lead you in what is important for them throughout the day. So communication and interact positively with our clients. And as I said, it's exceptionally important to make sure that you support a client and assist them to be part of their life. You walk alongside them so that they are able to gain skills, maintain skills, and develop skills where areas need to be. We often see clients decline cognitively as they age, as we all do, so it's very important to keep an active body and an active mind for our clients as well as for us as individuals. So we need to respond and adapt positively to change to the best of our ability. I've worked for the department for 23 years and started as a casual residential care officer 23 years ago. So in that is a lot of change. We need to change as a human service provider because people change. So we always need to be able to be flexible and adapt to the changes that happen within our department and within the client's day-to-day living. So we need to be a good team member. So even as a casual residential care officer, you're part of a team. You will come into a house and hit the ground running and have to be able to know where to find information and to read it and to be able to move throughout the day. So it's very important that you're a good team member, that you have good listening skills, that you have the ability to, as I said before, change to the day and be very flexible, because we are working with people and humans and we don't always present the best of our ability on every day, and we shouldn't expect our clients to not have the similar feelings and emotions that we do. So we do have to act within legislative framework. We have a lot of legislative framework when you're working with people who are vulnerable that we need to adhere to. The Disability Services Act, Discrimination Act, and all of those acts you will learn and touch on when you go through your casual induction. So as we said before, what does the day look like? The day looks like just like ours. The clients that we support, we need to support with every aspect of their life. We need to walk alongside somebody and how we talk to them. We're not just looking after what's important for the clients, which is food, water, shelter, all the things that society set in place. We have to make sure we look after their mental health. We look after the holistic person so that they have a good day. And as a result, we will have a good day. It's about how we talk to an individual. It's about how we encourage them in the activities that sometimes we take for granted that are a little more challenging for a client. It's about having time for them to be able to work through it. It's also about understanding some of their anxieties around life, and a lot of our clients have history and background where they haven't always been accepted. So it's about understanding that calm and acceptance is important for them, and encouragement around that. We all want to be encouraged, we all want to be accepted, so it's very important that we work with our clients so that they are aware of that. We look at information that is provided to us and we support the clients in the best way possible for that day, instilling our duty of care to make sure that the clients are well looked after and are very happy at the end of the day. So that brings me to why become an RCO? Many people will become an RCO because they need a job. Residential care officers varying times come into the workforce from never having supported a client ever before, and sometimes that is the best staff member we end up with. They come in, they learn the ways of the department, they learn how to support people in the best practice, and having a background of a disability carer doesn't exclude you from being a very good residential care officer. So once again, why would you want to be a disability support worker? Many come in and say, I want to make a difference in the lives of individuals with a disability. Well, I can tell you after 23 years that the clients make a difference in our lives. The ability to be able to walk along somebody and see them achieve some of the most amazing goals and achievements throughout their lives. They will touch your soul, they will bring you happiness, and they will brighten every day of your life. That's the best part about becoming a residential care officer. Okay, I will also be around for the questions at the end of the session, and I'm going to pass it over to Tanya Reynolds, and she will present the next section from here about the application process.
Thank you so much, Nari. Sorry. Just going to take control. So good morning, everyone. My name's Tanya and I'm from Workforce Capability, and today we'll run through the application process so that you'll know how to apply for the casual care, residential care officer position. And the first step is to gather as much information as you can about the role. So besides this information session today, you can also go to our website, the Join Our Team page. Let's take a look at a snapshot of that page. So what I've done is I've saved here just in the top right-hand corner the exact link that you need to get to that page. And what we have here is information about the role, plus 2 documents, the role profile and frequently asked questions that you can download and print off. So that will help you with applying for the role. In the top right-hand corner is an area where you're able to express your interest in future campaigns. I encourage you to go on there and to fill out the online form, and what we'll do is we'll contact you a few days before a campaign comes that is going to look for people in your area, and then you'll be able to prepare early before that campaign starts. Further down the page we have just a bit about future campaigns and some dates. And then with the current campaign over on the right-hand side, you'll see that we've broken it up into the various stage of the recruitment process, the advertising period, the time that we look at all your documents, making sure you've attached all your documents ready for the panel. We pass that on to the panel, and then as long as we've got all the documents that we've asked for, the compulsory documentation, the panel then looks at it and shortlists and makes a selection, invites people to interview, and then provides a report back on who they would like to invite for induction. And then we send those successful to induction letters, and then induction starts. So once you gather all the information, it's time to go online to Smart Jobs and apply through the Smart Jobs website. We do not take applications via email. Everything, all the information is stored on the Smart Jobs website, and that's ready for the panel to print off and have a look at your applications. So here, if you have not been to the Smart Jobs website, there is an area on the right-hand side that you can create. There's a register button there. You create your own account, and then you can search for jobs on Smart Jobs and apply through your account. If you already have an account, you just log in with that green button on the right-hand side. To search for our job, in the keyword section there, you just type in disability support worker, and as long as the advertising date has started, you'll be able to search for our ad. Have a read through there, and then there'll be an apply now button that you will hit, and you will fill in all your details, name, etc. And then there'll be a section on that page within Smart Jobs that asks you to attach the documents. And the documents we're looking for are here: cover letter, resume, driver's license, making sure that that's not P licenses. We do not accept a P license. They have to be an open license. You provide first aid and CPR certificates. They need to be current. And within the next part, which I'll talk about soon, we have certain dates that we like your provide first aid and CPR certificates to cover. But not to worry if they don't, because we do provide an opportunity for you to attend training and to keep them up to date as well. And if you're not an Australian citizen, we ask for a copy of your passport so we can perform the Vivo checks. Another important thing when uploading your documents into Smart Jobs is to make sure that they're PDF copies. So if you're taking snapshots with your phone, they become a picture, a JPEG copy. Now those files are really big, and what happens is it slows down the Smart Jobs system, and the panel will print off your, for instance, a copy of your license, and it will fill the entire A4 page. So the PDF format is really important if you can make sure that all your documents are in that PDF format. The other thing is to label those documents. Your first name, surname, and what those documents are. It makes it really easy for us to have a look and make sure that you've attached all the right documents. Otherwise, there's a string of letters and numbers, and it's very hard to screen. Also, you may not have all your documents at the time that you submit your application, and you might want to come back to it later. It's really important that, I'll just see if I can get back that, you go back to the view files and you attach your documents there. Now it might appear that you have already attached them to you and you can see the documents there, but there is a trick. You have to scroll down to the bottom of that page and find that green Apply Now button again. That's really important. Even though you've already applied, hit it again. It will attach your updated documents. Now, often people will say to us, but I've attached it. I can see it. It's there. But we can't because that Apply Now button hasn't been selected again. So just an important little tip there. So you've attached all your documents, you've hit the Apply Now button. So what that will generate is an automatic email that will come to you, and it provides a link to an online questionnaire that is compulsory. You must complete that questionnaire, otherwise we will not look at your application. Now, if you don't find that questionnaire, that email, have a look in your junk mailbox, because often people will find the email there, and if it's not there, give us a call, because it's really important that we get that online questionnaire completed. So when you click on the link, the first page will look like this, and you just follow through. It's very easy. You can do it on your phone. It's just answering a series of questions that we need answered to continue and progress your application. Next, we have the COVID-19 digital certificate that will be required. You can read the role profile. There is information about what we require there. And if you have any questions, you'll see at the bottom of that slide an email address. Please just send any queries to us and we'll direct it to the appropriate area. And that's it from me. So again, if you have any questions about the application process, you've got that email address there. Please just forward me any questions and I'll be happy to answer. Good luck, everyone.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sue Eldred. I am a Principal Program Officer with the department. Have a long history with Disability Services and have acted in the role as Service Centre Manager for both Redcliffe and Townsville. So I'm going to be talking about finding the right person for the role and some of the attributes we look for when we're doing hiring. So the following information will help you to understand what we look for during the selection process. So the role profile, you'll find a copy of the role profile in the Smart Jobs ad, or you can go to the ASNRS website and look at the Join Our Team page. And I encourage you to read through the role profile carefully and check the How to Apply section. So in the role profile, it will talk about, not in the role profile, in the ad, it will talk about leadership competencies. So in the role profile, there's a hyperlink to the leadership competencies for Queensland, and the at a glance fold out provides information on the areas of vision, results and accountability for individual contributors, and that's the role of the RCO. Under the section How You Will Be Assessed for this role in the role profile, you will see what is called key capabilities, and you are encouraged to include a statement in your cover letter to demonstrate your competencies in each area. This includes the areas mentioned above, as well as the technical role specific capability. In your cover letter, it must be 1 page in length and a comprehensive statement of who you are, your strengths and qualifications, and why you are interested in the role. There are tips for things to include in your cover letter, and they are listed in the role profile. Resume. Please make sure that your resume is factual and current and includes some contact information, and that must include a phone number and an email address. Include your work history, the position title and a brief summary of the specific skills that were relevant to the role. Education, include the highest level of school and or tertiary education that you achieved. Technical skills, include any job-specific skills that were necessary in the role that you performed. Include any certifications and professional memberships. Include the detail of these according associations by name and the relevant to the role. Include any achievements and awards. Include as evidence of your competence and expertise. Additional sections such as community involvement or volunteering that will demonstrate your commitment to your community. This is especially important if you don't have a solid employment history in the disability or direct care sector, and it will evidence your drive and passion to work as an RCO within ASNRS. You are encouraged to highlight any work experience or voluntary roles relevant to the role of an RCO to evidence your technical or role-specific capability. Your resume must be up to date and contain the details of 2 referees. having a thorough knowledge of your work behaviour, conduct and performance within the previous 2 years. Your referees will be contacted if you are successful at the interview stage of the process to determine your overall competency and suitability. Shortlisting. So as part of the process, the selection panel will review all the applications and determine what we call a shortlist. Those on the list will be contacted to arrange an interview time. If you are invited to the interview, all the details of the interview will be confirmed via email, where, when and whether it is in person or online, which is more frequent than has been in the past, the time frame scheduled for the interview, the name of the contact person just in case anything goes wrong or you wish to withdraw from the process, and any other relevant information you may need. When preparing for the interview, interviews can be intimidating. I've been through many of them and still get very, very nervous. Stay positive and give yourself plenty of time so that you are on time and organised. The interview panel will try to make you feel at ease if they possibly can. Let the panel know if you require additional support or reasonable adjustment during the recruitment process or at the interview. For instance, whether it's a video interview, national relay service or screen reader accessibility for documents. You are encouraged to review the role profile, visit any websites listed and do some research about the role of an RCO or disability support worker prior to the interview. If you require more information or are not clear on any of the steps of the application, make sure you contact the contact person on the role profile to discuss these prior to the interview. The contact person will be more than happy to guide you through the process and provide any information you may need to progress to interview. The interview itself, the panel will have set questions that they will ask all interviewees that are relevant to the role and will explore your experiences and the reason you are interested in the role. Interview questions will explore what you know about the role and that you have considered the tasks and supports you are expected to provide to the clients of AS NARIS, and Nairi went through quite a few of those. Here is where you can draw on any past jobs or experience. If you do not have direct role experience, it is an opportunity to demonstrate your enthusiasm to do the role and your understanding of the expectations of the position, and that's something Nairi went through as well. Come prepared to talk about your knowledge and experience, and if it helps, bring in some notes or work samples that will help you answer any questions. You might even like to practice doing a mock interview with a friend using your cover letter as a guide and talk about who you are, why you are the best person for the job, why you want to do the role, how your life experience has prepared you for the role, and what your strengths and maybe even some of your weaknesses or what you would like to improve on. After the panel have finished asking all the questions, there will be a time for you to ask some questions of your own, clarify any information or provide any additional relevant information. At the conclusion of the interview, the panel chair will provide information on what happens next, timeframes and who will be in contact. These processes take time, so it may be a few weeks before you find out if you were successful. If you were not successful, there will be an opportunity to get feedback on your application and interview, and you will be given the name of the person to contact. How you stand out from the crowd. So your application. Every applicant will bring their own life story and experiences when submitting their resume and attending the interview. This is to be expected, and the panel will approach all applicant information that is provided with an open mind. When your application is received, the panel members will check that all the mandatory conditions have been addressed and cross-check that all relevant licences and certificates have been attached. Make sure that if you are in the process of achieving a certificate, that you state this in your cover letter so that the panel is aware. Your cover letter and resume The panel will read your cover letter and pay particular attention to your responses to the key capabilities that I mentioned previously. This will demonstrate your experience or the knowledge you have researched about the role. Prior experience is not mandatory. However, the panel will be looking for your willingness and understanding of the role and your passion to work with people with a disability. All written information in your cover letter and resume should be well presented, concise and comprehensive. This will demonstrate the care and attention you have applied to the application process and your respect for the position with AS&RS. The interview, be on time for your interview, be respectful and have a positive attitude. The panel will be looking for reassurance that you are genuinely interested in the job and you have a good understanding of the role. Take your time, consider questions carefully and don't rush your response. If you didn't understand the question, ask the panel member to repeat it or explain it to you so that you can provide the best, well thought out answer. The panel will be looking for personal qualities demonstrating that you can work independently as well as contribute to a team. Your interpersonal and communication skills, how you problem solve tasks, where you may have contributed to change or an improvement process, your passion for the role and your willingness to learn, assurances of your dependability and that you are reliable and committed. Lastly, try and stay relaxed, stay focused and be honest. I will pass over to Lynn Sate, who will give you some information on training. Thank you.
Thanks, Sue. Okay, so I'm Lynn Sate and I manage the delivery team who is going to deliver most of your training. I'll just take my camera off there so you can see me. So the training team utilises a number of ways that we can deliver training. Sometimes it's face-to-face, sometimes you're going to be doing some training online, and sometimes it's blended, a bit of both. If you're successful getting through the recruitment process, you'll attend a 2-week induction. Now this is 2 weeks of full-time induction. There'll be 5 days in the classroom and 5 days working in people's homes. You have to be available those 2 days. I'll give you the information now. You'll be told again at interview that you must be available for 2 weeks. You can't come to us and say, I'm really sorry, I won't be able to attend one of these days, because this 2 weeks is mandatory for you to be able to continue the process to become a casual residential care officer. After you've done the 2 weeks and we say to you, congratulations, you've actually got a casual position with the department, we'll then say to you, you will need up to a 3rd week for service centre training. This service centre training is specific to the service centre that you're going to be assigned to. It could be things like you'll do additional training in mealtime support. It could be additional training in stoma feeding. There are a number of different supports we need to give to the clients, and these will be given to you in training on that 3rd week if you're successful. After you've done your service centre training, there will be a couple of months where you actually become very familiar with the clients, the service centre and also the department. And then we're going to offer you a Cert for in Disability. The Cert for in Disability can take up to 18 months. We're going through some changes next year and we're not quite sure what the outcomes of that Cert 4 will look like, but it's normally up to about 18 months in training. Now, if you've got a Certificate 3 or a Certificate 4 in community services or disability services, you might get some transfer of credits depending on how old it is, but we'll have a look at all that and we'll let you know. You mightn't have to do all of the Cert 4 in disability. The important thing is it doesn't matter if you haven't studied for a long time, we're going to be here to support you. We've got a number of assistant training officers and training officers that are assigned to service centres that will be able to support you when you need support. The main thing is you have good time management and you're prepared to ask if you aren't sure what's going to happen. Any questions about the training I'm happy to take after the session finishes, but the Cert 4 in Disability is at the moment the requirement of every RCO needs to stay as an RCO. If you want to be an RCO, you have to complete the Cert 4 or have or already have the qualifications, so you don't need to do it with us. Okay, so we have what we call outposted services, where we don't have an assistant training officer sitting there, but we do have an assistant training officer that's going to help you in those services. So that's Townsville, Rockhampton and Maryborough. We don't have anyone sitting there, but we do have people assigned to support you. The other areas we support are Sunshine Coast, Redcliffe, Brisbane, Loganlea, Gold Coast, Toowoomba, Oxley and Ipswich. Now, if you live in the Oxley, Ipswich, Loganlea and Gold Coast and Brisbane, you will probably do your training at Wacol. Wacol is where we have a big training unit and a lot of the training is run there. If you're at Sunshine Coast, Redcliffe or Nunda, the training is at the Redcliffe Service Centre. And for Townsville, Rocky and Toowoomba, you will be in the service centres there, and we fly people up to deliver training, or we do, just like we're doing today, some virtual training. So the main thing is you need to be very organised, have good time management, and we can support you with all the rest. Don't worry if you haven't done training in the past. This is a whole new adventure and we'll be able to support you as long as you're committed to the training. Okay, thanks Tanya.
Thank you, Lynn, and thanks to all the presenters today. It's our time now and your opportunity to ask any questions. So if you have any questions or if any of our presenters want to add any more information, now's the time to do it. Just unmute yourself and ask away. Also, David, Colleen, if you've held these information sessions before, I know they were face-to-face sessions. If you remember any of the common questions that were asked, probably a good time now. Lynn, I know you had a question around supporting people with personal care. You get questions like that and often encounter those when in training. Now's a good time to bring those up as well.
Okay, I'm happy to talk about the personal care. So a number of the people that we support we need to provide personal care to them. Some might be as simple as, okay, would you like to go and have a shower now? Some might be that you need to support them to undress, at all times remembering confidentiality, remembering that, you know, we close the door in the bathroom, we make sure the shower curtain or door's pulled across, and remembering people's privacy all the time. It could be you have to do full personal care where you assist someone to be washed, dressed, at all times remembering the person's dignity, but we do have to provide personal care. Sometimes people are very embarrassed by doing this, but we give you lots of training to support you to do it.
Thank you, Lynn. Anybody else like to add or ask any questions?
Hello, it's David here. One of the questions that I regularly get asked at these information sessions is it okay for me to have a second job, and what does that entail? Certainly, this role of a residential care officer is a casual position, and we do have a number of people who do have a second job, often or sometimes with a non-government agency. It is important, however, particularly through the training, which Lynn outlined is mandatory, that you have spoken to your employer about being available to do all of the mandatory training for those, for those 3 weeks, that any other commitments that you may have, you have made arrangements so that you can ensure that you are available for those 3 weeks. Because one of the issues that does crop up from time to time is that people start the training and then they find that they can't attend one day. And unfortunately, I have to advise them that I can no longer maintain them in the role or continue their training because that training is in fact mandatory. So it's really important, if you have a second job, that you let your other employer know that you do need to hold those 3 weeks of training and that you're unavailable for that work.
Thank you, David. Anyone else?
Yep, it's Nairi here. I just wanted to also make sure that everybody was aware that it is mandatory to be vaccinated to hold the position of residential care officer with the Department of Accommodation, Support and Respite.
Thank you, Nari. Okay, if that's all that we've got today, please feel free. We did have the email address. I might just go back and find that again. If you have any questions, please email me and I will direct it to the right person. There it is, rco@dsds@sip.qld.gov.au. Whether it's about the COVID-19 vaccination or anything that you've heard today, please email us with all your questions. Thank you everyone, thank you presenters, and we look forward to receiving your applications.